We're now going to move on to polynomials. So first, what exactly is a polynomial? Well, we've talked about algebraic expressions before, and all a polynomial is a particular type of algebraic expression with variables raised to only positive exponents. So we don't want to deal with any negative exponents or anything like that, but that's pretty much it. This first one, 3x to the fourth minus 4x squared plus 2x minus 7, this is an example of a polynomial in one variable. You'll notice all of the variables, all of the x's are raised to positive numbers. In this case, 4, 2, and 1. Here's another example, 4xy cubed minus 7x squared y. There's nothing that says polynomials only have to have one variable. In this case, this is still a polynomial in two variables. Like I said, as long as all of the variables have positive exponents, it's a polynomial. So now that we know what that is, let's look at how to actually simplify and combine polynomials. And we'll start by adding. And adding is going to be fairly simple because we've done this before. When we simplified algebraic expressions, we talked about like terms and adding like terms, and that's all we do when adding polynomials. So here's two polynomials we want to add, and you'll notice they do have parentheses. And this is common to indicate that we have two actual polynomials here, but ultimately the parentheses don't matter, so we can just drop them. And now we can combine like terms. With the like terms, the main thing is it's important that the exponents match. So we'll start with the x cubed terms. We see two x cubed terms. We have a 7x cubed and a 4x cubed. So we just add the numbers in front. 7 plus 4 is 11, x cubed. Now we'll move on to the x squared terms. And we'll notice that there's only one x squared term, which is negative 8x squared. So nothing to combine there. Now we look at the x's. We see we have this 3x and negative 12x, and 3 plus negative 12 would be negative 9, so a negative 9x. And then finally we look at our constants. I have a 9 and a 7, and 9 plus 7 is 16. So when we added this polynomial, we got 11x cubed minus 8x squared minus 9x plus 16. Let's do one more of these. This time we have two variables, but ultimately that's not going to change anything. Once again, the parentheses are not necessary when adding, so we're going to go ahead and drop those. And then we can combine like terms. The important thing to do here is to pay attention to the exponents on both variables. They both have to match to be considered a like term. So let's start with the x squared y's. We see that I have two x squared y terms. I have a 4x squared y and a 9x squared y. And 4 plus 9 is 13, x squared y. Now let's move to the next term. And we can see that I have two x squared y squared terms. I have a 7x squared y squared and a negative 11x squared y squared. So 7 minus 11 would be negative 4. So we have negative 4x squared y squared. Finally, we have our last two terms. And these are both xy squared terms, so we can combine those. I have negative 3xy squared and negative 4xy squared, so negative 3 plus negative 4 is negative 7. So we now have our answer. So now that we've added, well, what about subtracting? How does that differ? The only difference between addition and subtraction is the negative sign in the middle, and that does have one major impact. And it's the same thing that happened when we were simplifying algebraic expressions, because remember, that's all polynomials are. They're special types of algebraic expressions. And the rule was we need to distribute the negative sign. So we need to make sure that we change the sign of everything inside of the second parentheses. So the second parentheses becomes negative 3x to the fourth plus 6x cubed plus 2x squared minus 13. And now that we've done that, we can combine like terms. Let's start with our x to the fourth. I have a 9 and a negative 3, and 9 minus 3 would be 6x to the fourth. Now let's look at our cube terms. I have an 8x cubed and a 6x cubed, and 8 plus 3 is 14x cubed. We now have our x squared terms. Negative 10 plus 2 would be negative 8x squared. And then finally we have our x terms. So you'll notice we only have one x, this 7x, and then we have the minus 13 at the end. So those actually don't combine with anything, and we have our answer. Now let's do one more with multiple variables. Let's try a 2-variable one. Once again, our first step is going to be to distribute the negative sign, so make sure you change the sign of everything inside of the second parentheses. Now that we've done that, we have negative 17x squared y minus 3xy plus 7xy squared. And now we can combine like terms. We'll start with the x squared y. I have an 18 and a negative 17, so 18 minus 17 is 1x squared y. We tend to not write the 1 in front, but if it makes you feel more comfortable, it doesn't hurt anything. Now let's look at the xy's. I have a negative 6 and a negative 3, so negative 6 minus 3 would be negative 9xy. And then finally we have our xy squareds. A negative 6 and a plus 7 would be 1xy squared. And once again, we don't usually write the 1, but if it makes you feel more comfortable, you can.